All right, we are back with the ET48 2.0 build. This is going to be bag K, which is the center diff assembly, and then also installing the rear end of the truck on here. So let's jump right into it. The first step here is going to be installing the motor mount and the other piece here. And so we're gonna jump right in. So this motor mount gets installed with the smaller screws, and we're using thread lock because we're going in to aluminum. Put that in there. So I'm doing the two outermost screws, and then I'll get the center one in the end. And I just left the first one intentionally loose just for alignment. And you guys can see that I'll put some thread lock, and then I'll just use my finger to control how much is actually on there. Just don't forget, when you're going into aluminum parts, they're pre-threaded, and so they should go in easy, and if they're not, you've got the screw in crooked. Okay, so then we're gonna put in this piece, which is also held in with the smaller screws. I'm going to start both of them, and then I will check just to make sure they're going in straight. Okay, let me check this off camera because it's going to be easier. Okay. Got those nice and straight. We'll use this power driver. Bring those in. And then use the hand to check for torque. Okay. So that is that. Okay, so the next step here is we put this center chassis brace on, and it ties into this top hole on this mount and then down on the chassis below. And just a note, this is an optional brace. You can tune the chassis flex by removing it, and if you do end up not running this brace, then there's this little piece that came with the kit, and this piece will go in here to take that hole up. So, you know, just put that in there if you're not running the chassis brace. But for this setup, I am going to run the center diff chassis brace. And so the bottom here, it takes these two next largest screws, like so. Like usual, we'll start both of them, and then we'll check that I got them in there straight. And I'd say it's a good thing we check. That one's not even close. Okay. And we'll finish this off by hand. Okay. Chassis brace in there. So now the next step here is we put this drive line and make sure you get it in the out drive for the front gearbox, and we bring in the center diff and put that out drive in, and we just drop it in like so, and then we bring this piece and we tighten it, bring it all together here. Okay, so then this top screw, it uses this bigger screw to go through the chassis brace, and since it's going into aluminum, we're going to use some thread lock on it. Plug that one in. And then the three other ones are these smaller heads. And again, on the bottom front, it's going into aluminum, so we're going to put a little thread lock on it. Tighten those down. Then the other two are going into plastic, so no thread lock required. There we go. Finish these off by hand. And just check everything out here. Alright, that all feels good. When you're handling this truck, even after you have it fully built, be really careful and to not hold it by this drive line, because this thing's hollow and it's aluminum and you can bend it, so just be really careful with this thing. And then you'll notice that there is some play in that, and that's 100% normal. This play is so when you have chassis flex, you don't actually bend this drive line, so that, you know, it can flex and still not just damage this drive line. So yeah, just be careful with that. And when you're doing maintenance, it's always good to check to make sure this thing's not wobbling, and if it is, replace it. Alright, so the next step in the manual is they have us assembling this rear brace. But I'm going to do that after I put the rear end on. So I will grab the rear end here and feed this drive line into it. The center drive shaft, and let's flip this thing over. And now we're going to be putting, actually, let's put these big ones in first because they are a lot easier to center up. And I'm just going to drive these in with the power driver because they're already fairly centered. Okay, and then these longer ones we're going to put here. Okay, this is a little bit cockeyed, so I'm going to loosen these up. Help me get alignment there. Stick these in. Just check to make sure these are going in straight. Okay, and we'll drive these in. Let's crank up the torque. Oh, I need to charge this battery. Oh man, that's tight. Okay, and then we'll cinch these back up. And we'll put these guys in. Looks all straight. Check that those are torqued, and they are. Alright, so now we got the front, and this thing is starting to finally look like an RC car. So we'll stick this in next. Stick that in. Tighten that up. ties into these holes back here and there. So we'll now secure it to the rear gearbox. Some creaky plastic. Sometimes if I get these in a little tighter than I think, I'll back them off and then retorque them just to put them at the right spot. So the final one here is this screw on the bottom. This one can be a little bit tricky to get in. Sometimes you just have to like push down on the chassis a little bit to flex it in position. And you know, sometimes it'd be good to, I'll probably just back those top screws off just a little bit just to make sure we're not preloading that chassis too much. So we'll come up here and just back those off for a minute, let everything settle. This rear brace is a tuning option too. You can leave it out. You can also put in a second one to stiffen it even more. All right, anyway, that is bag K. Hope you found this video useful, and please like and subscribe if you did.